Hello, my name is Madeline, and welcome to this Yin Yoga class for the hips and spine. So it'll be a full body practice, but mainly focusing on creating space in that spine and opening up those hips. So hopefully you'll be feeling just a bit lighter, a bit more open after class is finished. And to begin, let's start with some breath. We'll just take 3 deep breaths to ground into the space. So exhale all your air out now. Take a deep inhale through the nose and an exhale out the mouth. Inhaling through the nose and then exhale out the mouth. And one last deep inhale through the nose. And then big sigh out the mouth. And before we move into our yin postures, we'll just take a tiny bit of movement with some seated cat-cows. So you can place the hands on the knees. And then before all that, if you like to use props in your practice, you can grab a couple blocks, maybe a bolster, up to you. It's not necessary, but it can be really helpful. So back to those cat-cows. Come to place those hands on your knees. As you inhale, begin to arch the spine forward, look up towards the sky, and then round the back as you exhale. And you can continue with those, or take any kind of movement that feels good in the body, maybe making some circles in one direction and in the other direction. Just listening to whatever your body is needing today and whatever feels best. And once you're finished with your movement, return back to center, and we'll get into our first yin pose now, which will be a child's pose. So you can come to face the front of the mat. And then start to bring the knees wide on the mat and sink down towards those feet. And then whenever you're ready, begin to crawl those hands forward. And let the forehead rest on the mat. So just gently opening the spine and the hips here. And finding a position that feels comfortable to you. And breathe deeply. So try to imagine the breath moving all the way up and down the spine. And we'll take a few more breaths here. And take one last deep breath. And slowly start to walk those hands back up towards your body. And then come forward into a tabletop position. Maybe you want to take a couple cat-cows here, or take any kind of movement that feels nice in the body. And take one more breath, doing whatever movement you like. And then return back to stillness, and we'll come to sit back in order to come down onto our backs. And this is where you might want to grab a block. If you have a book as well, or any object that looks like a block, you can grab that as well, because we're going to make our way into a supported bridge. So you can come all the way down onto your back, feet planted on the mat, and then grab that block and just lift those hips up slightly and slide that block underneath the sacrum. So starting on that lowest height to begin. And you want to make sure this is on the sacrum and not directly on that lower back. So more so in that tailbone area. And you can bring the block to whatever height feels best for your body. And then just get comfortable here. If you'd like some more opening in the front of the hips, you can stretch those legs forward, out long. And two, if you'd like some more heart opening, you can reach the arms up above you and take hold of opposite elbows. So really just listening to whatever feels best in your body, whatever you're needing today. And then melting into this pose, getting a nice opening along the front side of the body. And breathe deeply, maybe closing those eyes. And let's take one more big deep breath here. If you had the elbows clasped above you, begin to let that go. If your legs were stretched out long, begin to slowly draw them back to center, feet on the mat. Then really gently lift those hips up and slide the block out from underneath you. From here, maybe taking a couple windshield wipers side to side, rocking those knees. And then returning back to center whenever you're ready. And we'll begin to press back up onto our hands. And then we'll come forward to sit on top of our heels. So we're going to prepare for a saddle pose now, which can feel really intense on the knees, might be a little painful. So if you have sensitive knees, I recommend going for a Sphinx pose instead. So you'll still get that opening in the front of the hips. But if you want to go for a saddle, try to bring those knees together, and you can either be sitting on top of the feet or have the feet a little bit outside of your seat. So if this is enough, that's great. You can stay here. If you'd like to go a little further, you can come down onto your forearms. And if you'd like to go even further, you can come all the way down onto your back and clasp those opposite elbows. So making sure you're not feeling any pain here. You really just want to try to get that opening in the hips, but if you're in pain, it's not worth it. Again, option to go for a Sphinx instead if this just really doesn't feel good in your body. And we'll stay here for a couple of minutes. Really opening up the front of those thighs. And remembering the breath, trying not to hold or clench here. And we'll take a few more deep breaths here. And take one last deep breath. And really gently, if you're down on your backs or your forearms, start to press back up onto those hands. can slide over to one side and super gently just stretch those legs out in front of you, maybe shaking them out a little bit. Maybe rocking the hips a couple times side to side. And just pausing for a couple moments to feel the effects of that pose on the body and to let your body rebound a little bit. And whenever you're ready, no rush at all, we'll make our way back into a tabletop position. Option here to take a couple breaths of movement, maybe some cat-cows. And then return back to stillness. And we're going to prepare for a shoelace pose. So you have your legs in this tabletop position. We're going to take that right leg, slide it in front of the left so that the right knee and the left knee are in line. Spread those feet a bit wider across the mat, and then slowly press back, coming to sit in between those feet. And you can always sit up on a blanket or a block here just to create some more space in those hips. This one can definitely be another intense pose. If half shoelace doesn't feel good or regular shoelace doesn't feel good, alternative to reach that left leg out long for a half shoelace if that feels better. Again, listening to your body. And if you want to stay upright like this, that is great. If you'd like to go a little deeper, you can begin to fold forward over those knees. Option, if you have a block, to place the block underneath you for the forehead to rest on. So really deep opening for that right hip. And we'll take a few more breaths here. And take one more deep breath. If you're folded forward, just begin to slowly press back up onto those hands. No rush. And slowly we'll return from where we came from. So bringing those hands forward on the mat and then just removing that left leg out from underneath the right. And you might want to take a couple cat-cows here or any movement before we move into that other side. So we're definitely doing some pretty intense hip opening today, really getting into that deep fascia, the deep connective tissue, so that we're able to move better throughout our days. So whenever you're ready, come back to that neutral tabletop and we'll come into shoelace on the other side. So this time, begin to draw the left leg in front of the right. Try to make sure those left and right knees are in line. Spread the feet a little wider across the mat. And then slowly start to drop back to sit in between those knees. Again, you can sit up on a blanket or a block to help create some more space in the hips. And if this doesn't feel good in the body, option to stretch that right leg forward for a half shoelace if that feels better. And knowing that each side can look super different, so it's totally okay if you do a different variation on this side than the other. And you can stay sitting up like this, that's great. If you'd like to go a little deeper, begin to fold forward over those knees. An option to place a block underneath the forehead as well. And trying to find a place where you can be still for a couple of minutes. Remembering your deep breathing. And we'll take a couple more deep breaths here. Taking one last deep breath. And if you're folded forward over those knees, beginning to slowly crawl back up. And this time you can release the legs just by stretching them out long in front of you. And we'll come down onto our backs just for a few moments, just to feel the effects of everything we've done so far. Sometimes you feel the most in these moments of pause after the pose. And take one more breath here. And then slowly start to press back up into a seat. No rush at all. Really taking your time. And we'll come to a seated position again with the legs out long. And we're going to move into a caterpillar pose. So option to bend the knees as much as you like here. The deeper you bend the knees, the more of a lower back stretch it'll be. The straighter the legs are, the more of a hamstring stretch you'll get. So it's really up to you and what you're looking for today. So whenever you're ready, begin to stretch those arms up towards the sky. And then start to fold over those legs. Option, if you have a block, to place it in between the legs for the forehead to rest on. Again, finding a position that feels best in your body. And try to breathe all the way down the back body. And let's take a few more breaths in this caterpillar pose. And take one last deep breath. And then slowly start to crawl back up those legs. No rush. Removing the block if you are using it. And bring those hands behind you. Go for some windshield wipers once again, if that feels good in your body. Releasing the back. And then pausing back at center. And we'll come back to our hands and knees again. Again, feel free to take some movement just for a breath or two. And then we'll return back to center and we're going to make our way into a dragon pose. So from here, if you have a blanket and you have sensitive knees, again, you can pad the left knee here. And whenever you're ready, begin to step that right foot forward outside both of the hands. So lots of options here. You can stay on top of the hands. You can come down to forearms. If you have blocks, you can place the hands on blocks or the forearms on blocks. So again, a super deep hip opening here. And try to find a place where you can be still for a couple of minutes. And really try to pay attention to the breath. This one can be a challenging one. The deeper you breathe, the deeper you're able to move into the pose. Maybe try to let the head drop here, let the spine soften. And we'll just be here for a few more breaths. Take one more deep breath. If you're down on your forearms, press back up onto those hands and then super slowly start to draw those hips back, removing blocks if you were using them. And sliding that right leg back as well. And pressing up into downward dog. Should feel really nice. And maybe pedal out those legs if that feels good. Then pause in that downward dog. And we'll make our way into dragon on the other side from here. So this time, step the left foot outside both of those hands. Option to pad the knee with a blanket if you have one. And again, you can stay up on your hands. You can bring the hands to blocks. Come down on the forearms, bring forearms to blocks. And again, each side is different, so it's totally okay if you want to do a different variation on this side. So find what works best for you and just settle into this pose for a couple of minutes. And remembering to breathe deeply. Let's take a few more breaths in dragon. And take one more deep breath. Start to press back up onto your hands if you're not there already. And really slowly draw the hips back. Bring that left leg back to meet the right. We'll press up into downward dog one more time. Option to stay still or to pedal out those legs if that feels good. And then whenever you're ready, return back to the mat on those knees. Swing the hips to one side. Bring the legs out long. We'll come back down onto our backs. So this should feel really nice after all that work. Maybe you want to rock from side to side, releasing that back. And then return to center, and we'll make our way into a reclined twist. So scooch those hips a little over to the left, draw those knees into the chest, And then let the knees drop over to the right side. And stretch that left arm out long into a T shape or a cactus shape. Try to get that left shoulder pressing down on the mat. So this should feel really nice. Again, breathe all the way down that spine into the twist. And take one more deep breath and recline twist. And slowly draw those knees back to center. We'll get right into that other side. Scooch the hips a little over to the right. Draw the knees into the chest. And then let those knees drop over to the left this time. Reach the right arm out long into a T shape or cactus shape. Trying to get that right shoulder to remain on the mat. And just breathe into this twist here. Let's take one more deep breath here. And slowly draw the knees back to center. Maybe you want to rock from side to side again, or make some circles with those knees. And from here, take any final poses or movement your body is needing before we move into Shavasana, or final resting pose. So maybe you want to go for a happy baby or a snail. Again, just listening to whatever the body is needing. And whenever you're ready, no rush at all, come to lie flat on your backs, on your mats. Let the arms drape to the sides. Let the body soften and surrender to the earth for your Shavasana. And resting here. And if you have the time, I encourage you to stay in Shavasana for as long as you like. But this is where we'll close class today. And we'll close with one final breath on our backs. So you can exhale all the air out now. Take a deep inhale through the nose and a long sigh out the mouth. And thank you so much for practicing with me today. I hope you're feeling some more spaciousness in the spine and the hips. And if you'd like to see more Yin Yoga practices like this, please subscribe to my channel and let me know how this went in the comments below. And I'll see you again next time.